Greetings, my name is Jet and welcome to my channel, JITV, Jet in the Valley. So this one is a note that I took where it looks, when you look around and you see the war and destruction and chaos and just hate, lack of empathy, and families that are broken and nobody being able to function properly, it makes you wonder, like, why isn't anybody doing anything to help? Why is there nothing that seems to be helping the situation? So no one wants to acknowledge anti-love. No one wants to acknowledge what they call sin. Sin is anything that goes against the Most High God of love. So it would be selfishness and greediness and lustiness and all these things that are the enemy to love. Nobody wants to acknowledge these things. There's a huge push for spiritualism in many different philosophies and theologies that say nothing is inherently good or bad. Humans give the meaning to if things are good or bad, which is false, and we can prove this by looking at other rules of the nature of reality, right? So, like, we breathe oxygen, right? So if I say that I don't breathe oxygen, does that mean that I'm not going to have to breathe oxygen anymore? And if I want to jump off of a building, but I somehow try to do word gymnastics, am I going to be able to jump off of a building and survive, or am I going to crash to the ground? So if we do not acknowledge the problem of anti-love, there are things in the nature of reality that go against love, right? If we keep doing the things that go against love, we're going to keep getting the response and reaction and the repercussions, there we go, of doing the anti-love. So if everybody pretends that some things are good and we're pretending and we're trying to make the definitions up for what's good and what's bad and what's love and what's not love. So it doesn't matter whatever anybody wants to say with their words, whatever they want to make up. It matters about the inherent nature of reality is already predetermined what is good and what is love and what is not. The only thing that's going to happen by people saying making things opposite or whatever is it's going to continue to encourage more anti-love. It will continue to reproduce itself. So hate and greed breeds more greed. If you say greed, well, it's okay to be greedy if you're being greedy and you're giving money back, right? It's like, so everybody's going to say, okay, well, it's okay to be greedy as long as you're giving some money back, right? And this is how the slippery slope of sin, of anti-love is. Plus, when someone does something, it becomes normalized. So people are normalizing greediness. Let's just stick with that one. So when so many people are being greedy, it's normal to be greedy. So then when people aren't greedy, they stand out like a sore thumb and they're like, ew, what's wrong with you? You're not greedy. We hate you because you're showing that, that by you not being greedy, it means that we are greedy. So they hate anybody who refuses to pretend against anti-love, against sin, against anything that goes against God. God came here in the form of Jesus Christ to show, not only to show, but this is the nature of God. God is love. God is righteous and cares about right and wrong, love and not love, and all of these things. There's already a predetermined set thing, okay? If you want to know what love is, you read about Jesus Christ and see what that is. See what happened and what God did already done. But it's not going to be so people can pretend that some things are good and some things are bad. Greediness is bad. Lust is bad. These things, they go against love. If you if you want love, meaning you want the fruit of the Spirit, you want joy and contentment and peace and kindness, and you want self control, and you want, what people would say to be good. If you want the good things, you have to do the good things. You have to reject the bad ones. But you cannot pretend that one is good and the other one isn't. It is still going to give you, it's still breaking the law. If you break a law, whether you know the law or you don't know the law, you're going to face the repercussions of your actions of breaking the law. If you didn't know you couldn't drink and drive, you got wasted and you got busted, what are they going to say? Oh, you didn't know you couldn't drink and drive in this country? Oh, well, we're just going to let you go. And that's literally, that's exactly what I'm trying to say. So if you don't know the rules, if you don't know the laws, then, it doesn't matter, because you're still going to face the consequences of your actions. So, for example, let me think of one. So, I'm gonna I'll do a whole nother example on that. But so it's the whole point is, you cannot say good is bad and bad is good and expect to flip things around and be able to get love from anti-love. You cannot. Uh, it says you'll know a tree by its fruit, right? There's an apple tree growing. You're not gonna get bananas from it. You're gonna get apples. So if you're doing loving stuff, you're gonna have the peace, joy, contentment, all of these things. If you're doing the anti-love stuff, which is sin, you're doing that stuff, you are going to have the fruits of sin, which is greedy. It's anti-love. It's greedy and selfish and lusty and all these things. Selfishness, right? Do as you want or whatever. Even, who cares about your kids? Who cares about anybody else? Do what you want to do. Who cares if we have evidence and science and we know that when people see stuff, it goes into their body, and it affects their mind, it affects their persona, it affects everything that they do. So if you are doing whatever, your existence affects other people. We all are connected to a certain degree, and people for thousands of years have known this, and hence why the TV and the media and all those things, they're not used to encourage love. They are not being used to encourage people to become love-based living individuals. It's continued to be used to normalize anti-love, to normalize violence, greed, lust, envy, all of those things. They use the television, the media, and all of these things where it could be used to show love, joy, peace, show all of these things, right? To encourage that, which is how they kind of got their foot in the door. They did that a little bit, but there's always been normalization. That's the whole thing. It's called demoralization. So it went from people being loving and love based to people being anti love and not love based, and letting little children watch murders on TV. Say, oh, it's normal. Well, yeah, it is normal. And I don't know why we have such a problem with all kinds of violence. You can't expect for to to give somebody you can't expect to give somebody food, right? And then not grow. It's like, oh, I've been giving this dog all these dog treats and it's getting fat. It's like, yeah, that's what happens. You've been feeding it. So all of this civilization, all of our society has been eating violence and lust and greed and all of these things with our eyes through TV, video game, and all of that stuff. And many people say, oh, they've proven that doesn't affect anything. That doesn't affect anything. Well, then why do we look around and we see society is totally falling apart, and it's becoming more and more and more not love-based living society, and more and more anti-love, right? Which is selfishness and all these things. I It's really, once you see there's love and there's anything that goes against love, it will start to click for you. Once you understand there's only two options, love or it's something that goes against love. There is a huge gray scale that people want you to believe exists, but there's not really a gray scale. It's a little bit of black mixed with a little bit of white. It's loving and not loving. And when you can start to identify that, and when you start to see, says, hold, test all things and hold fast to what's true. What's true is the more love you do, the more love you do, the more love you will have. The more love you can give and the more love you can share. The more anti love you do, it kills you. Anti love kills you. Love lifts you. Anti love literally kills you. And if you can identify those things and start to understand the solution to your problem is to become a love based living individual, to identify what is loving and to only do what is loving. And love and truth in life are interchangeable terms. So test all things, hold fast to what is true. Jesus said he was the truth, the way, and the life. We start with that. Identify what is love. Love is truth, and it's all life. That's all life. The anti love, the greed, selfishness, all of those things are death. So identify what is love and hold on to it and do it and use your all of your being to do it. Don't just be a hearer. Don't just hear it and be like, oh my gosh, that's true. You have to do it. You have to incorporate it into your life and it will become your life. And you will be reprogrammed with the mind of Christ, right? Which is a love-based living individual. So with that, much love, many thanks, and I love you. Thank you.